Hello and welcome back to Hype Cycles, where we're recording practically at midnight. It's 10 a.m., Nitesh, 10 a.m. We have only done one episode before at 10 a.m., which was actually a pretty good one, the blockchain one. So, PM, what's up? How is it going?
I'm glad you didn't ask about the weather because that's my story for the day, but we'll get to that in a bit. How it's going is I'm feeling old. We didn't record last week because I was away on a short weekend trip with my kids, which includes my 6-year-old son. And we stayed at a resort. So I just told my son, call the front desk and ask for towels or something. And he said, okay. And I pointed to the landline and he went there and he stood in front of it, looking at it. I said, just dial 250 or whatever the number was. And he dialed it. I said, no, you have to pick up the receiver first. What's that? I showed him. And so he picked the receiver and he's looking at it. I said, hold it to your ears. He said, okay. Can you hear something? He said, yeah, I hear a beep. I said, that's the dial tone. You can dial now. And he dialed. And he started speaking. I said, no, wait, is it ringing? Yes. Let them answer.
But ringing, though, you should know. Come on, ringing is ringing.
He's never made phone calls from his phone. Or maybe he thought this whole thing has a different paradigm altogether. Maybe he
Fair.
thought he's leaving a voicemail. I don't know. But this
Maybe
is
it's an maybe it's an AI robot thing, and you just dial 250. And it does it
maybe.
for you.
And they answered and he said, yeah, please send me some towels. I said, no. You have to tell them which room you're calling. He said,
Really?
can't they see that? I said, no, they can't see. I said, okay.
It depends on the hotel. Sorry, that depends on the hotel. A lot of hotels can see what
Maybe,
room.
but I was like teaching him landline from first principle.
Fair.
So he said, okay. They said, all right, we'll send it. He said, thank you. And then he's looking at me. I said, yeah, put the receiver back. He put the receiver back. And I said, son, this is how phones were when I was not even your age, not even your daughter's, sister's age, even older, until I was almost 15, 16. I said, why can't we just send them a message to send towels? Why all this? And he has a point. But yeah, I felt old.
Would I
And
rather send a WhatsApp message to the front desk? Ki please send. Yeah, actually.
yeah, it's asynchronous. You don't have to wait for a
Mm.
response. Makes a lot of sense, which makes me really sad.
But conversely, I hate any restaurant, and Bangalore is afflicted with this the worst. QR code menus.
You are menus, yeah.
I would rather call the person, talk to him, understand what's good, ask
Yeah.
him for a recommendation, and then he will promptly say, "Sir, sabhi अच्छा है, सब कुछ ही अच्छा है, sir. Everything on the menu अच्छा है." So that will be useless. But yeah, I would still rather talk to the person than use my phone.
Uh, Two things I want to say about that. One, obviously, from the restaurant's point of view, this makes a lot of sense. If you don't have dishes on the menu that day, you just disable them and the guest never sees them. So you don't have that whole back and forth of, do you have this? Or take the order and then go to the kitchen and say, no, it's not available, whatever. You just disable it and no one's the wiser. All right, that's great. Again, dynamic pricing. They can change prices every day if they want to because it isn't printed. That's also great. Because you remember, right? Printed menus, you'd have those stickers with the new prices and how aggravating that was. Here, you never know. So, from the restaurant's point of view, totally makes sense. Plus, they're collecting your data, your phone number, all of that. Also great. Uh, what gets lost in translation is, in my experience, apart from the really high end places, in regular places, the filthier the menu, the better the food is. And here, that entire thing is missing. Those laminated menus with random food stains on them are always in the best restaurants with the best food. And we just sidestep that whole thing. So that's happens.
Also, my real life, I am the co-founder in my startup who handles ops. So
Uh,
my life is a series of OTPs.
right.
The last thing I do when I go to a restaurant to meet friends is OTPs. I do not want any more OTPs in my life. I want fewer OTPs in my life. So therefore, any restaurant that has a QR, one is एक तो QR code से menu, they will send me to a Canva link, right? And then you talk to a waiter. That is bad enough. But the OTP ones where you have to order online, no, 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 no. I will go there
There's a
only
ready-made
very
for
grudgingly.
this. There's a ready-made solution for this. Restaurant should have Dizzy Yatra. No, please. On that incendiary note,
Yeah, I have not cried on this podcast yet. I don't want to start today. So, yes.
the idea for
I am
today's,
so triggered. Let us begin.
since I have triggered you anyway, did you know that this is not my topic? It's just something I'm basically trolling you at this point. Uh, OpenAI is working on a speaker, audio
Really?
device for home. So cool, no? All that just to reinvent Alexa.
Because now that Apple has sued them, they can't do a phone. They can't do glasses. So they're chopped off. They're chopped off. And now they're back to Alexa.
Alexa, but
Alexa, what's the weather outside? Beneath, it is 324 degrees Celsius right now. No, it's actually 32 degrees. Oh, you're so right. Honestly, good on you for calling me out on that. Let me give you the correct answer this time. No fluff. Smart speaker. Speaker. Oh, God. How's that going for Amazon, by the way? It will go even worse for OpenAI.
just I'm curious, okay? If you're going down this path, why
Hmm.
build the hardware? Amazon has a vertical of where they have their own devices, the Fire, or whatever it's called, the Echo, sorry, a range of speakers. But
Hmm.
apart from that, they also have Alexa support on third-party devices, right? Like if you and I are building uh, a plush toy for kids with conversational ability and smartphone, because like what is the creepiest use case I can think of for this is have it converse with a child all day. If we were building one of those, why would I, if I was Amazon, why would I go through the pain of making the plush toy and figuring out the microphone and the speaker? Because someone in
I mean, there
Shenzhen,
is a whole standard here. Matter. Matter is an accepted standard. It is very popular. So Philips is on it. Panasonic is on it. So many companies are on it, right? With the smart devices, with the bulbs, with everything. Make that work better. Make that conversational. Give them the software. License the software to them.
plug in your compute or conversation ability, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
Why?
But then
Why?
how do you get the Johnny Ive chops?
Correct. Again, India is pioneering in this field. If you look at any uh, infrastructure project that happens here, we always get the causality the other way around. It's never, do we need a highway here? It's, do I already own land here? Will it appreciate if I sanction a highway here? We always tend to put the cart first, then the
Yes.
horse, and it looks like Altman is on this. He's committed
Yeah.
to
So
something.
one,
Therefore,
one
they will do hardware.
so one thing that has been true forever, but is truer now in the last 15 years, thanks to social media, is that people who are very smart in one area of life and have made money, whether because of those smarts or whether because they got lucky or a combination of both, it's always a combination of both, right?
Uh-huh.
Are treated as gods in all areas, like they know everything. Sam Altman is not a businessman from any perspective. He does not know how to run a business. He's not even a product guy. I don't even know how good a technologist he is, but let's say he absolutely is. I know nothing about the technology of AI, so I will bow out and say, okay, he is the god of AI tech. Let's say does not know how to run a business. Does not know how to build products on top of his existing business. Oh yeah,
Could
it
you
is all.
argue, or could I argue that it's the same with Mark Zuckerberg?
Yes.
He's
He's great at
fantastic.
running a business. He's great at
No,
he's
he's
terrible at
great.
technology.
He's great at acquiring businesses. He's a great VC. But
No. They have acquired a bunch of companies, and if you look at the success rate,
it's the same
like
for all.
Instagram and WhatsApp, sure.
It's the same for all VCs.
So what makes a great VC?
Conviction, network. He has all three.
Yeah, then yes. Then he's a great VC.
Because the entire
But
business.
he's not great at technology, and he's not even great at spotting technology trends. See, at some point you become so huge.
Name the company Meta.
Exactly. At some point you become so huge. It's like being the ultimate nepo baby after a while, right? You will get so many opportunities and you have so much money to throw at things.
Something or the other.
Will work. Yeah. Not discounting the early years and what they built. Right. That's a separate discussion altogether. But after a while, that ad business made him so much money post IPO that, something or the other will work. We give them way too much credit.
Absolutely. And come now, let's be honest. Even doing a podcast is an act of hubris, right?
Yes.
We know
Absolutely.
they or we're mildly successful in some other part of our lives, and therefore
No, I disagree. We are media. We are very different from the traditional media, but we are playing the same role. We are just informing people of things that have happened where we know 5% more than them. We don't claim, neither of us has ever claimed to be the know-it-all of anything we are talking about. We have just read a lot more than the people who are listening to this, and we are sharing those stories and offering a take, right, an opinion. But we are very clear that this is not fact. It is not like my opinion is worth more than anybody else's. It is my opinion. Period.
I will agree with the caveat that holds true as long as we stick to our lanes. If we tomorrow suddenly start opining on HR policies
Agreed.
or I don't know, civic design, urban
Agreed.
plan, whatever, then we are equally chomos, just on a much smaller scale.
Absolutely. But the topics where we have gone out of our lane. So, for example, the conversation we had on solar power. It was essentially just me reading out from a very well-researched article and stating facts from that article and a little bit of additional research. That was not me or even you saying, well, actually, solar power is the future because this. We have studied it personally. Like yesterday, I had a call with a VC fund, and I have now spent 5 years in this industry, in this business, in this startup, right? And 15 years of experience before that in sort of related fields that have built up to this, right? All experience helps in some way or the other. And this man, some 10 minutes into the conversation, starts telling me why everything we are doing is wrong because he had a conversation with someone in the Bay Area last month, and therefore what we are doing will never work. That is absolutely okay. I mean, again, I don't even enter these conversations saying I know everything. I don't feel that way that I know everything, right? But
क्या VC बने तू? Sorry, go on.
but yeah, you don't get to a stage in you should never get to a stage in life. नहीं मैंने उस बंदे से बात करी थी तो तू जो ये कर रहा है इतने सालों से तू गलत है, तुझे कुछ नहीं पता. मैंने उससे बात करी थी आधा घंटा तो मैं सब जानता हूँ. That is hubris. I disagree that what we are doing, the act of podcasting is hubris. It could be. It is not a mutually exclusive set for sure, but it is not 100% match. That every podcast means extreme hubris. I disagree.
I'll use that segue. you know how we harp on and on about how this is not investing advice, anything talking about. Today I'm discussing futures and options. Therefore, it is not lifestyle advice, it is not investing advice, it is not gambling advice. Just blanket, like we used to say for WWF, don't try this at home.
Let's look into the camera and say, the statistics do not work in your favor.
Yeah, the odds are stacked totally against you. And this is a fascinating uh, and increasingly a very large subset of finance, of investing, of markets. And therefore, it is interesting because even if you don't participate in it, it tends to wag the dog increasingly because of volumes, especially here in India, which has the highest option volumes in the world, despite being one of the shallower markets, one of the smaller
Yeah.
markets, which is so weird.
Wow. Wow.
But anyway, so options, just a broad allow me 5 minutes to geek out, please. I love this topic because of like, what pure intent and actual utility this product has and how it has become bastardized. Uh, the classical example that is given for this is let's say you're a farmer and you're growing, I don't know, corn, and your harvest comes a year from now. You don't know what's going to happen in that year. Will it rain? Will there be a heat wave? Climate change is happening, whatever. And so you
Sorry. That
say,
is my daughter on camera.
reason that futures were conceived was you, Vineet, the corn farmer, could pre-sell your harvest at a fixed price that let's say a popcorn manufacturer, I know I need to buy corn a year from now. Even I don't want to deal with the uncertainty of how much it will be a ton a year from now. And so you and I enter into a contract. Okay, we are fixing a price today, and provided you can deliver the quantity, I will pay you a fixed price that we are deciding now, regardless of what the price is on that day. If it doubles from here to there, that's a windfall for me. And if the price actually absolutely craters because of a glut or whatever, because people stop buying popcorn, whatever it is, I am still bound to buy from you at that price. Right? So this is just both of us locking in uncertainty, getting rid of uncertainty. It's hedging in a way, right? So that is the intent of a futures contract. Options are like they provide optionality, like the name suggests. We can, instead of entering into a pure futures contract, you can buy puts to have the option to sell corn at a particular price a year from now. And I can buy calls to have the option to buy corn at that price a year from now. They're like directional bets on the futures, to put it very, very simply. Like I'm going to be doing a lot of oversimplifying because uh, honestly, I don't know where to draw the line of how deep to go into this. Uh, so that's purely it. You know, the underlying contract is the futures contract where actual delivery happens, and there are two parties, one on either side. Futures contracts don't need exchanges. We could independently, you and I could enter into the and although most futures contracts are traded on exchange, you and I never need to meet theoretically. You just go to the exchange and say, I need to sell so many futures. I go to the exchange and I say, I need to buy. I don't even know that I'm buying corn from Vineet a year from now, or that you are the counterparty to my contract. Same thing with options. Options have optionality. So, like a year from now, if I had the option to buy corn at 100 rupees a kg, oversimplifying, and on that day the actual price is 90, I can just throw away the option and buy at 90. They're like insurance on whatever transactions I need to do. How it is at 110, then I still have the option to buy at 100. So it depends on the actual spot price on that day, whether the option is exercised or not. And the key feature is optionality. Same for you. If you bought puts to sell corn at 100 and on that day corn is at 90, then well, you're in luck because you have a contract to sell it at 100. And so you make that windfall. And all it costs is the premium. Like you have insurance premiums.
Take me through
All it,
this 90 and 100 put example.
let's say you're buying puts to sell corn, 1 kg of corn a year from now at 100 rupees. So the strike price is 100. All right. That is the price of the
On and
commodity.
fixed. Regardless of what happens in the market, 100 is what I am selling at.
Yes, you
Is that
have the option to sell at 100.
I have the option at 100.
For the privilege of that option, you paid, say, $2. Regardless of what happens, your 2 rupees is gone. It's like health insurance.
Ah.
When you paid it, whether you make a claim or not, that money is gone. So your
And is
2
that a
rupees,
reasonable percentage? Like 2%? Is that
usually,
reasonable?
there's a really complex formula for how
Hmm.
options pricing is done. It's called the Black-Scholes-Merton equation. Uh, it won a Nobel. It is the underlying engine for the medallion fund. It's it's what powers most of derivatives trading in the world.
And I
The
like
Black.
anything that starts with black. That's always a good sign. Like Blackstone, BlackRock.
No, this is an actual scientist whose name
Ah.
was Black. It was three guys, Black, Scholes, and Merton. I know you were tempting humor, but no.
Fair.
Anyway, uh,
The scientists alone.
yeah, please. There are so few left. So you paid the premium for that option, 2 rupees. That 2 rupees is gone. A year from now, your harvest is ready of 1 gram, 1 kg of corn, and you go to the market. And there are two possibilities. Actually, there are three, but let's oversimplify. There are two possibilities. Your strike price was 100. On that day, corn is trading at 110. Alright, the price has gone up since you bought the option. Now, that's great for you because you can sell at a higher price than you thought. You were ready to sell at 100. The price is 110. So you tear the option, throw it away, and sell in the market at 110. Your profit is 110 minus the 2 rupees that you paid for the option, which is gone anyways.
Which
Right?
is
So
gone.
you sold at 108. Great. Good for you. Right?
Hmm.
What if on that day the price is 90? Well, you're in luck. You have the power to sell at 100. So you sell at 100 even though the spot price is 90 and your profit is 100 minus the 2 rupees. So you make 98. 98
Now let's
is
go to the other guy. So I understand the farmer's point of view. Now the other guy, he is making 2 rupees for sure. Right.
the option seller. Yes.
The option seller.
Yeah. Which
If
is what
price is
uh,
110 and the farmer does not sell, he has made us 2 rupees. Is it 2 rupees paid a year in advance?
yeah. You
Yes.
pay the purchase premium when you enter the contract. When you buy the puts.
So then if at 110 the transaction doesn't happen. Case closed. Right.
Yeah.
His 2 rupees was there.
Yeah.
Now if it's 90, now he has bought a lot of stuff at 98.
8.
No, at 100.
But
Okay,
one
98.
rupee,
98. That he now has to sell at 90. So he's lost 8 rupees.
8 rupees.
So his downside risk is much bigger than the upside risk, which is obviously, in a way, it's a zero-sum game, right? The other side, the upside risk is much more than downside risk.
Correct. And for an options seller, now let's enter into market dynamics. I am Jane Street. This is how Jane Street make money, by the way. I am Jane Street and I don't care what the underlying commodity is, whether it is coal or steel or aluminum or whatever. I am a market maker. And so when you, Vineet, go out into the market and say, I need to buy puts for corn at 100 rupees, I'll say, yeah, sure, I'll write the put for you. Because I am writing at least 1 million such options. And the vast majority of them will expire worthless. So I get to collect that two rupees from 1 million bets, and I need to pay out only maybe 50,000 because that's how good my algorithm is. If you are good at this, it's basically a license to print money. And
What
if
is
you're bad at
the what is the algorithm doing in this case? Because the guy on the other side is setting the price, right? Ki I want to buy it at 100.
you are ready to buy an option for 100 rupees. It's my job to decide whether to sell it to you at 2 rupees or 3 or 5. If I price in a higher risk, there's a good probability that it could go to 95. Then I will try and sell it to you for 5. So that either ways I make my money. Yeah. So that's
Like the insurance company sort of never loses. Yes.
Exactly. That's the whole game. So otherwise, for an options writer, for Jane Street, theoretically, in every single option that they've written, their downside is unlimited.
Yeah.
Right. The price could go to 0. I would still have to buy it from you for 100. So it's
If everything is moving up, then they make only on the the price of the option?
No,
Because then
because
people would not sell it.
direction does not matter. They make money when there is volatility, when there's a lot of back and forth. Because one of the inputs in the Black-Scholes-Merton model is volatility. The more volatile markets are, the more expensive options become. Which is why, for the past year, since Trump started the tariff RADA, yeah, I'll call it that. Since then, options
Rada.
pricing
No.
worldwide, options pricing worldwide is totally out of whack. Like it's 2 or 3 times what it would normally be because volatility is so high. Every single market now, even like financial newspapers regularly report the VIX, the volatility index of that market. So there is an India VIX, there is a US VIX, and they've all been at like historical highs since the last year because it doesn't matter. The Strait of Hormuz is open, oil crashes down, that's still volatility. So options pricing is still increasing. The strait is closed, oil is increasing, that's still volatility because volatility is speed of change, not direction. It's direction agnostic. It's how fast the price is moving up and down, not whether it's moving up or down. So that's one of the inputs. I think I did
I have understood more today about futures and options and calls and puts than during my MBA.
Awesome. I'll take that as a compliment.
I'm not even
Uh,
exaggerating.
Right. So this was just like the foundation layer, and I am so excited for this. This year, for the first time ever, there was a monsoon futures contract in India. Did you read or hear about this?
No.
Wait, the numbers are brilliant. Okay, it's called RAINMUMBAI. It's a futures contract. It's going to be there only for 4 months because monsoon 4 महीने के लिए होता है, right? June, July, August, September. Monthly expiry. And what they've done is they picked Mumbai and they picked 2 weather stations in Mumbai. Okay? Because Mumbai is like one of the frontier cities that gets hit by the monsoon. That's when you know, okay, the monsoon has reached Mumbai from the Arabian Sea. And also because it's an old city. So they've had weather stations collecting scientific weather data for 100 years in Mumbai itself. So they've picked 2 stations, the 2 oldest stations in Mumbai. One is in Colaba, I think. Yeah, Santa Cruz and Colaba. They have 2 weather stations there, which are managed by the IMD, the Indian Meteorological Department. So 3 parties have come together for this. One is NCDEX, which is a National Commodities Exchange, one of the commodities exchanges, IIT Bombay, and the Meteorological Department. And they said that, we need a hedging instrument for monsoon. And they have taken the last 100 years of monsoon data and said, okay, average every year for the last 100 years, का average अगर निकाले, there will be outliers, of course, but we're talking about the average. The mean, we have had so many millimeters of rain on average over the last 100 years. So we have a basis. Okay, this is the expected amount of rain that we should have every year for it to qualify as a normal monsoon, as a 100% monsoon. We have had a proper rainfall this year. Now, not only do they have like the entire season's average, they also have the average for every day. For the last 100 years, on 1st June, we have had this much rain. On 2nd June, we have had this much rain. On 3rd June, we have this much rain. So the contract starts trading at that historical level, right? And then for every additional day, they're going to measure the rainfall from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. the next day. And by 9 o'clock, they'll collate that data from both the stations, run it through actually, there is no algorithm here. It's simple addition. They're going to say, okay, yesterday on July 17th, we had 6 millimeters of rain on average. यहाँ पे 7 हुआ, यहाँ पे 5 हुआ in Santa Cruz and what was the other place?
Colaba.
So between Santa Cruz and Colaba, 7 here, 5 here, we have had 6 millimeters of rain yesterday. That was yesterday's average. However, for the last 100 years, on July 17th, we have had 8 millimeters of rain. So today's markdown is -2 on the spot price. And the futures prices will move alongside the spot price, right? So in theory, the market forces notwithstanding, supply demand notwithstanding, the future price will drop by 2 points. Each point mostly is 50 rupees. So it should drop by 100 rupees, the futures contract. if it rained less yesterday. That's the product. I'm seriously oversimplifying. The NCDEX website has, and I want you to link to it, the entire workdown. They have FAQs, how they're doing the calculations, and I think they've done a reasonable job, all things considered. Now, there's a long history of weather options, and we'll get to who needs these and how they can use them. There's a long history of weather options, like 30, 40 years on the Chicago Board of Options. So they've been writing hot and cold futures for like the longest time, which companies can use to hedge their climate risk. And, with climate change, this is going to become more and more relevant every year. That's the product broadly. Basically, you can use this instrument to offset the impact of weather on your commercial activity. That's as broad as I can make it. Let's look at specific use cases. The example that they cite, which makes sense to me because this is Mumbai specific, is if you're a builder in Mumbai, first of all, well done. I hope you are enjoying your Rolls Royces. But anyways, if you're a builder in Mumbai and you know it's going to rain really heavily and your roads are going to be flooded and your workers will not be able to come to the site, you cannot pour cement because of the climate. Heavy rain is equal to bad for you. So you can buy these contracts or rather sell them because every time the rainfall is less, the value of the contract will go down. So you're short the contract, basically. Hedging your business risk, because if you have, like you identify that we have this particular site jahan pe kaam chal raha hai, which is going to be shut, but we have fixed costs because we still need to pay our workers and we have interest costs and all that. Mera roz ka, I'm losing 1 lakh rupees of every day that because of the rain, we are not able to do construction work at this site. So you can calculate and short 3 or 4 lots of this contract. And, while you will lose money on your business, these contracts will become more like less valuable. You sold them at 100 and they'll drop down to 80, for example. And therefore you will get money from here.
Yeah. So a few thoughts, right? And let us look at it from two extremes because these are the two extremes in my head. One extreme is your regular insurance, which you buy on, let's say, an annual basis.
Example.
Right. कि मुझे पता है if monsoon is 30% deficient this year, I can sort of build a model around how much that will cost me. I will make my assumptions. And उसको hedge करना है, so I will pay a certain amount, maybe 1 to 5% of that for insurance as a premium. Therefore, I know. So that is my classic hedging. Right. That is the traditional model. The other extreme is sports betting. कि I want to bet 1,000 rupees कि इस ओवर में नो बॉल हरभजन सिंह करेगा या नहीं.
Right.
Right. What you have described seems to be going from the first massively towards the second. कि daily basis पे tracking.
Directionally, yes.
But also, what are the numbers like? Who is putting money? Do we have any data on who is putting money?
We'll get to that. To your
Yes, very curious. I'm very curious about it.
Friend's point, I had the same doubt. Why not just, we've had crop insurance and climate insurance for
It's a 200-year-old whatever more product. It's an evolved.
why do financialization of something that is a solved problem? The trouble is the insurance claim will not settle automatically. You're going to have a surveyor come in and you're going to rely on data that you both might not agree on because you are pointing to your basement and saying, look, it's flooded and therefore my car insurance claim needs to be passed. Whereas that guy is saying, no, I have the weather data here and it says that only above this much centimeters of rain do we need to take on any liability or whatever, crude example, but there is a human element to this. It doesn't settle automatically basis some data.
That seems like a solvable problem without involving financialization.
It would still have a claim process and settlement, which takes a few months, few years. This settles automatically, but
the problems can be broken down into A, bureaucracy, right, and B,
mitigating fraud. The insurance company is worried about fraud, right?
So the second part. So one is bureaucracy. The second is just reliability of data from both sides. An agreement on what is valid data, what counts, what doesn't, when will the policy trigger, etc., etc. Right. So all the problems with insurance, that sorry, I think we should take her to a parent-teacher meeting. Seem to come down to these two issues, right? And again, I'm massively simplifying the data part, right? Because that is a common issue in medical insurance also on an individual level. What counts as default, what counts as pre-existing condition, blah blah blah. There is so much lack of trust. It seems like a regulator can solve that without the companies having to resort to financialization and building more products on top, more layers, more layers, more layers.
But what's the issue here? What's the issue with the product
Why is
design?
it needed? Why is financialization? Like I'm approaching it from the other perspective. Why do we need financialization?
Okay,
Not versus why. Right.
really small scale. Let's say I run a retail outlet. I sell kids apparel, really basic stuff. And whenever it rains, I don't have walk-ins. My business is directly impacted. I can't buy insurance for that.
Huh? Agreed.
But I can do this. It's open to anybody.
Huh? So which is heading then in the okay? Let me then not say sports betting, poly market. Delhi, apne like insurance company is not solving a problem, so let me go to the markets. Yeah, fair. A fully financialized product.
Which at
Yeah.
least is transparent, frictionless. If I use it for its intended purpose, अभी मैं checkup शुरू करूँगा तो then that's possible for anything. But if I use it for its intended purpose, then it solves a specific problem. So the other side of the bet, the example that NCDEX gives on its website is you're selling fertilizer. If you're a large industry selling fertilizer, lesser rain is bad for you because output will be less and therefore lesser fertilizer will be sold. And you need to hedge that. So you're the ones taking the other side of the bet.
It still amazes me that the insurance industry, having been around for 200, 300 years, has not managed to solve this problem. And hence people are looking at, let me use a polite term, prediction markets. Right. Again, I'm stuck more on the poly market side. Right. Because we've seen that, right? Pubs doing that hedging with poly market. Ki, acha, if our guys win, then a lot of people will turn up to drink afterwards. If our guys lose, then they won't. So therefore, let me hedge. Right. They are using this as insurance. And now futures and options is effectively, this is insurance, right? Futures and options is not. But yeah, fair. The original use case was also insurance only. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. The irony of this is if you're a farmer who is like the most directly exposed to this, like Lagan, dude, it opens on farmers hoping desperately for rain, right? That's how important it is. And 250 years later, it is still just as important. We
need. Imagine the sequel. Imagine Lagan 2.
Yeah, I brought it just about concept. It is the club is that the marking is done on a day by day basis, right? So, and it is cumulative for the month. So let's say we are in July now. Let's say you are a farmer, Vineet, and you have bought the August contract. I really need it to rain, and if it doesn't, then at least this contract will pay off, and I'll make some money here. You're long on the gun. It could, in theory, there could be 3 weeks of drought, which is the critical 3 weeks that you need rain to actually sow the seeds to make sure that you get a good harvest. And then it could rain all at once and the gauge will come back to normal because it is measuring on a cumulative basis. So it's theoretically entirely possible for you to face a ruined crop as well as not get a payoff from the contract just because of the timing of the rains. It's in your interest for it to be spread out evenly, whereas it could be clustered. So you could have 3 weeks of drought in the very weeks that you need rain, and then so much rain that whatever you've sown also gets washed out. You lose on the harvest, and you don't make any money on the contract because on settlement day, it has come back to normal. It had gone down to -10 when you were seriously in the money, but if you did not exit, then you're shafted. Which, if you're an Indian farmer, you're probably used to by now. So, yeah.
So now, okay, theory, great. Two thoughts. One is I would love to get into the practical. Who is actually investing? Who's
Volumes,
actually buying?
contracts have been traded in the last month or the last couple of months. Each contract is worth about 1 lakh-ish notional, 1.2 lakhs to simplify. So that's about 500 crores.
What's the demographic? Who's buying
They,
these?
it's on the exchange, so they will not be able to reveal that. No, or at least I couldn't find it. I don't think NCDEX is putting that out.
Because is it again?
You're wondering how much of it is speculation, how much of it is genuine hedging?
Yes,
There's no way to tell. There's no way to tell.
because I
But
have my theories.
but I know. You think people are just gambling on this? Why would you go to such an esoteric product?
Why not? People are bored.
I, I don't know, man. Seems unlikely, especially because it's a futures contract. I mean, there's so many cheaper ways. So you need to at least buy one contract, which is a lakh plus of capital that you need. You can do zero DT options trading for like a few thousands.
Why do people do commodities trading speculatively? People do
वहाँ
all
पे
kinds of stuff.
भी options volumes are way more than actual futures option volume.
Fair. Second is I've just become a little skeptical कि कुछ farmers को help करने के लिए चीज आई है.
No, so NCDEX
In
does
years we've
not
been
give.
hearing, oh, all this mobile data, everything. The farmer can now just check on his phone what the mandi prices are. MetSat is giving weather predictions accurately. Farmer is very happy in the photo with his. It went from a Nokia 3310 to a Motorola Razr to now whatever you want to show, right? To now Chat GPT is telling him everything. Farmers तो हमारे करोड़पति बन गए सारे के सारे दिख रहा है. The बेचारा farmer on the ground. So I'm very
I
skeptical of all these.
don't think
कि
this
farmers
product
को
is
help करने.
intended for farmers because they are already covered under the government crop insurance scheme, which I don't think they even pay for. It's subsidized or entirely sponsored by the government. I could not find NCDEX
Okay.
making any claims that this is intended for farmers even. Because, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I hope it serves its intended purpose. Awesome. See you. Enjoy your PTA meeting. See you, Desh, and see you everyone next time. Bye bye.